This is why I'm streaming 24/7, in order to protect my life. But this book needs to go straight to the police. If anything happens to me, if I disappear, if I inevitably end up dead, because that's what I believe. I'm going to end up dead over this. Everything I experienced in Connecticut, the hacking of my BCI, my brain, basically, my BCI brain chip, Neuralink, whatever you want to call it. They have been inside my head this entire time talking to me, and I keep going to the police over all of this. That no one wants to investigate. I literally had called police to my other grandmother's home, stating that I thought someone was breaking in, and I overheard them inside, like, the roof area inside the garage. And I specifically asked them, I called you out here because I thought someone was breaking in. Isn't someone going to go check? And no one even answered me. They basically just talked to my mom, said, are you sure they shouldn't be on medication? And it's just like, how is someone supposed to get any kind of help if you're not even going to look? So I think there's a police cover-up, government cover-up. I believe people are being told not to believe what I'm saying, or that they're being paid off. But everything in this book details what I have been experiencing since I moved to Connecticut and since I moved back from Connecticut. And no one is listening to me. I know it's a lot, but it's because no one is helping me with any sort of investigation, that I can't firmly confirm a lot of the things in this book, and I need someone to investigate. I don't have money. I can't just say, hey, I need a private detective. Can you investigate this person, this person, this person? There are so many names on this list because I believe it's tied to a drug cartel. And you know what? I'm going to go over what happened. I'm just going to read what I have written here. So if this book disappears, if and when I die, there's going to be a recording up on YouTube of what happened. Let me get a drink of water. So like I said, I can't firmly confirm everything that I have written in here. I would need someone to do investigating, and I don't have money to do that. I just don't. So I had been having hallucinations or being stuck in some sort of dreamscape. That is a word that I had kept hearing over and over and over again. Dreamscape, mindscape, something about neural networking, neural pathways inside the human brain. Hearing people talk to me through my BCI slash Neuralink. And I was seeing ripples, flashes of light, weird little bright lights all over the place, in the walls, the mirrors, the TV, the floor, the ceiling. There are holes literally in my ceiling from these flashes of light that keep beaming, and there are craters in my roof that I have recorded on my phone, which I'm also going to be taking immediately to the police. And I wasn't entirely sure what it could be, like maybe an oscilloscope, some sort of oscilloscope detection, reading people's minds. Like there was a TikTok filter that was able to literally read people's minds that had been banned from from use. It was literally completely banned from usage because it was reading people's actual thoughts. I'm gonna go off with a list of the names that I would need investigated. Some of them you may know, some of them are connected to government officials, some of them very high up on the ladder, and military. Raleigh Markovitz, Raleigh Markovitz. Charles Bueno, Charlesbueno. Tommy Bueno, Tommybueno. Sophie Palmerone, you've heard me talk about her before. She was an ex-roommate. Sophie Palmerone. Hunter Latham, who is William's friend, who is my ex-boyfriend. Hunterlatham. Will is my ex-boyfriend. Hunter is just his friend. Gracie Williams, GracieWilliams, Sophie's friend. William Barclay, of course, William Barclay. He's a head chef at Carson's in Noank, Connecticut, my ex-boyfriend. Zachary Damien, who is his cousin or half-brother. Zakrydamien. He's a grave digger or some sort of he works in the graveyard. Julia Benz, who is Zachary Damien's girlfriend or ex-girlfriend. Guliabentz. And then there's someone named Stephanie. I'm not entirely sure what her last name is, but she owns William Barclay's brother's house where I had stayed when I moved out there. She works for a water company nearby. She's the owner of John Barclay's residence, where they were actually trying to purchase the home from. And I overheard that from Zachary McGree, ZACHARYMCGREE Barclay, BARCLAY. He was married to John Barclay. When I had moved out there, Zach was barely ever around. He had told me that he was a captain in the Navy, and he was going on tour. And then shortly after that, I basically never even seen or heard from him ever again. He may have been disappeared, but we'll get into that later on. Ashley Anderson, Amanda Anderson, Richard Anderson. Ashley ASHLEY, Amanda AMANDA, Richard RICHARD, or Dick. I overheard them calling him Dick Anderson, so Anderson ANDERSON. They're from Nutmeg Woods Apartments, and they signed us for a longer lease than we should have been. And it had come to our attention while we moved in that there was asbestos in the apartment complex that I'm pretty sure other people had gotten sick from. I tested negative multiple times. I've gone to the hospital like so many times since I've been back here, so I've tested negative. Ashley Coughlin, who was one of my IOP inpatient outpatient program psychiatrists that had been assigned to me through Lawrence Memorial Hospital, which I was suing for basically all of the medications they had me on, making me feel sick, making me feel like I was being targeted by an assassin inside the hospital, ignoring my cries for help when I wanted to leave, when there was another patient who was already stating how he felt like it wasn't even a real hospital, and he ended up dying while he was there. And I feel like it was like a missed hit on my life. And yeah, I reported it, and I talked. No one from the police have ever contacted me over this ever. No one contacted me asking me to stop talking to the police at all, except for the people who are hacking my brain, telling me to stop contacting the police. Um, John Barclay, JOHN BARCLAY. He's a Marine in the Navy, is what he kept telling me. He said there was some sort of story where he couldn't drive. He got into a convoy accident where he basically overheard his fellow Marines being killed. I'm not entirely sure of his story's truth, but that's what he says. Natalie Porter, she was one of my IOP therapists as well. Tara Basil, Natalie Porter, NATALIE, Porter, PORTER, Tara Basil, TARABASILLE, and Sarah Vitello, who was basically stalking me from Nutmeg Woods Apartments. I knew she lived, I think she lived either upstairs or downstairs from us. I'm not entirely sure of the facts, but she was there. And then she moved into the trailer park where we moved to after I left. After I left the apartments. Sarah Vitello, SARAHVITELLO. She moved across the street from the trailer that I moved into with William Barclay before I moved back home. Amber McLaughlin, she was someone who was friends with Sophia Palmerone, who stared me down in the middle of a Walmart while I was walking in and saw their groups of friends like head in front of us. And then I went to go buy a candy bar like I told my boyfriend I was going to do. And Amber, like, I just turned around, saw her staring at me in the middle of the aisle, the entryway, and she just stood there just staring at me. And I stood there staring back at her, and it freaked me out, so I just turned away and went and bought my candy bar and left. Robert Berkins, RobertBerkins, or it may even be Will's biological father, who I'm not entirely sure of who he might be. Kathy Barclay, KathyBarclay, I believe maybe part of some gang affiliation as well. We'll get into that a little later. Amanda Berkins, Molly Berkins. These are friends or relatives of Sophia Palmerone, and they're suspicious. They're just suspicious. Amanda Berkins, AmandaBerkins. Molly Berkins, MollYberkins. There's Holly Trehan, or Haley Trehan, HollYTrahan, HaileyTrahan, or Mary Trehan, MaryTrahan, and they lived upstairs in Nutmeg Woods Apartments as well. And I believe they were stomping up and down the stairs, calling me a whore outside of my apartment, because apparently they didn't like the fact that I had an open relationship with my boyfriend. They hacked into my phone at some point and saw that I was role playing with people, and I had a cheating fetish that I had discussed with my ex-boyfriend at the time, and he was okay with it. I'm streaming this live. I have no qualms talking about this live with anyone, so I have nothing to hide. You can talk to him about it too if you don't believe me. I have no idea what he might say because I have evidence to suggest that he is also connected to this drug cartel or gang affiliation. There are recordings that I have on my phone of him telling me that he is connected with Anonymous. And I'm going to the police tomorrow to speak out about it. No more sitting around and waiting for people to help me. No more waiting for police to contact me about the information that I have after I have called them and told them what I have. I'm done waiting. Let's see. His name, Christian Damian or Christian Barclay, Christian or it may be Richard Damian, Richard Damien. I believe there may be some sort of police involvement in cover-up. I have more names here. I'll try to leave out any extras that are duplicates. Carrie Croteau and Christy Croteau, KerriCroteaux, and Christy Croteau, KRISTICROTEAOX, and it may be Christy Habernacki, who I was in IOP with, KRISTIHABBERNACKY. And there's also Carrie Fissette, KERRIFISETTE, Rebecca Anderson, REBBECCAANDERSON, Mallory Fissette, Ira Sitko, IRASITCO, Mallory Fissette, MALLORYFISETTE, Faith Williams or Gracie Williams, FAYTHE WILLIAMS, GRACIE WILLIAMS. There are so many names here. You know what? I'm just going to show them. And their socials. If I have them at least. And these people have been harassing me nonstop, calling me a pedophile in the state of Connecticut, which can actually be proven that I'm not. I was just dating one. William Barclay can be proven to have had underage relations with minors. Let's see. So they're probably calling me a pedophile because I was dating him, which honestly would just be their scapegoat excuse for saying, like, well, we didn't know. How could we know? I mean, if you're dating one, I didn't even know because he didn't tell me. I had to literally ask him because people were hounding me about being one. So I'm sick and tired of hiding someone else's truth, someone else's issues, to be a good person, just be nice. And these are all my interpretations of these people, by the way. These cannot necessarily be proven. This is why I need help investigating in case anything happens to me. And this is going up on YouTube as well as being streamed live. When I moved out to Connecticut to stay with Will, there was another trans girl there. Her name was Sylvie Ann. I met her as Mabel. She now goes as Little Lammy on Facebook. They basically, I don't know if they're part of the scheme because they had been talking to Zachary and McGree about some sort of plan that they had worked out together in order for her to stay there. But she ended up having to go back home because I think she talked about the plan with me and she wasn't supposed to. So she went back home, as far as I know. I watched her get into a black SUV. Kathy drove her to the bus stop herself. I watched it. I watched it happen. And she had been in contact with Will ever since. Even while we were still dating, they were still talking, which made me uncomfortable because, as far as I'm aware, Will told me that she was like an actual pedophile, that there was actual literal child pornography found on her phone. And I don't know what happened after that. But that's the last I ever heard of her. She may not be alive anymore. Sorry for the chicken scratch handwriting. I'm trying to go as slow as possible so everything gets in there, so that it's legible for any detectives, for anyone who wants to try their hand in figuring out who these people are, what their connections are, and why my reports haven't been going anywhere. I have video proof on my phone of my stolen ID being returned by Kathy Barclay when she broke into our trailer. And yes, I mean she broke into our trailer. She didn't have any right to be in there. She was in our room, our private room, without telling anyone that she was going to be there. And all of a sudden, my ID was found straight back in one of my pants pockets when I had taken it out to go with Zachary, Damien, and Julia Bentz out on the town to get some drinks. They showed me around the town a little bit over by the Cannonball Museum, like where they showed like there was some sort of war that happened or something like that. And there's like a cannonball exhibit outside the museum that led up. And they took me down to the beach. And yeah, they just walked me around. And I believe that Zach stole my ID because he had gone back to the truck while I was standing there talking to Julia Bentz. And she was telling me about the museum and the war that happened, and how proud the town was, or something like that. But when we had gotten back to the apartment, I had noticed that my ID was missing that day. And then a couple days later, suddenly my ID was back because they, I don't know. I don't even remember like where we went for Kathy to have snuck in to put it back there. I don't even remember. It was around April 2022. Yeah, and Ashley, she made the inappropriate calls to my family, to call the police on me. My family refused, so my IOP therapist, Natalie Porter, called instead. I was harassed by the upstairs neighbors, the Williams, the Trehans, the Palmerones, as well as the Markovitzes. Not entirely sure who lived upstairs and who was downstairs. Excuse me. But definite gang activity. They stalked me to doctor's appointments. They stalked me to Walmart trips. They stalked me wherever I freaking went. Inside my apartment, outside the apartment. They're on TikTok even. Raleigh's on TikTok, so they probably have things posted of me on their TikTok. It's probably all over it, talking about how much I'm a pedophile or whatever. Oh yeah. The eye exam inside the Walmart was staffed by my next door neighbors. They were black. They seemed like they were a nice couple, but it was odd seeing the black lady just staring me down in Walmart as well while we were checking out. Um, and I was supposed to be getting an eye exam that day, but it was just strange seeing her there, which is why I think it's a government cover-up. I lived in apartment 11J. She lived to the right of me, so I think it was probably 12J or 10J. If anyone can do any investigating to figure out who they were and why all of a sudden that they had jobs there when I was going in for an eye exam, that would be fantastic. This is going up on YouTube. If I'm going too fast for anyone, I apologize. Please just hit the pause button. I can't confirm everything that's written here. A lot of this is just conjecture on my part, so I'm not entirely sure. I don't want anyone to message these people and harass them whatsoever. What I'm asking for is strictly private and confidential detective work. I don't know how to do any of this, but I've been reaching out for like the past year for help and not receiving any from detectives. From my own family thinks I'm crazy. My own family won't help. I don't know what to do. Here's a list of more people of interest. Hang on. and their socials. These are Snapchat socials, I believe, or Instagram. And at this point, I'm very suspicious of the Barclay family. John, Will, Kathy, and Zachary Damien, who seems to be fairly close to them, and by extension, Julia Bentz and her family. She told me that her parents were out on a business trip and she hasn't seen them for a while. So these people are rich. They have connections within the community, and I don't know what else to do. They also stream. So they know that I'm doing this because I told them I'm going to be streaming all of this. So they're probably watching. And a lot of the people are friends with Sophia, like Matt Russell. He's a cop, or his dad is a cop. Okay. And some of the names are double in here or mentioned multiple times because I believe they were using aliases as well. Um, there was one doctor there who I believe was posing as a patient. I came out of group therapy and saw him in scrubs when previously he had been, just sitting out there in IOP, Pond House 4. I shouldn't have even been there. Um, but he was sitting there, doing puzzles with other patients and stuff like that. I felt my life was in danger there. I still feel like my life is in danger. A lot of this I can actually prove. I have the plane ticket where Sophia had stolen my baggage and tried to leave it at an airplane terminal in JFK when she went on a band tour. She had totaled William's car because she had borrowed it. And I have the receipt from where they had totaled the car as well. I had to take the evidence. It's not like Will was going to do anything with it anyway. It was just lying around. And I believe that there was some sort of what was it? Nano/xenobot infestation type deal going on. That they had injected me with a couple of different things that they probably shouldn't have. Thinking that it was some sort of, invasive BCI type deal that they were doing through nanotechnology. And the hospital was paid out $100,000 in insurance money from Husky D Health Insurance, and I believe that they pronounced me dead like early. That's what I believe. Because what else would $100,000 go towards for hospital care when I was only there for, on record for about a week? I was there for like half a month to a month on paper that I have. It doesn't add up. Like, I can go and show that. It doesn't add up. Okay. So this says January 19th, 22, when they started giving me medications. That's at the very least what this tells me, when they started giving me medications. When I went into the hospital January, the night of, like, literally just before midnight of January 15th, and I had cut up my entire forearm. Shit. My scars aren't showing on camera. I have to make sure that people see. I don't think you will. Damn it. They're not going to show up on camera. I'm white. The scars are white. I was attacked by Tommy Bueno, and I lied during my initial confrontation with the police. My first talk when I was exiting the building, I was rattled. I was scared into silence. Death threats have been hanging over my head if I were to speak out about this, but I have been talking out this entire time, and I'm done. They tried to make it look like Will had attacked me. They used his cleaver that he had gotten and tried to make me commit suicide. They gave it to me, said, if you don't do it, we're going to torture you. We're going to pull out your intestines. We're going to gut you. And then we're going to stuff you back up medically. We're going to sew you back up, sit you in the morgue, and then do it every single day forever. And said, if you don't do it, then I will. And I chickened out. I had the cleaver in my hand. He grabbed me from behind and he started hacking at my arm. But I was able to fight him off. And he didn't kill me. Obviously, I'm still here, but he had threatened to finish the job because he had a gun if I ever spoke out, because Will was asleep in the next room. He was passed out. He smoked weed all freaking night, all day. That's all he ever does. Smoke weed, he vapes, and he was just passed out all day. Or, I mean, he was passed out all night. He was smoking all day. And I was afraid for my life, so I called the police and I told them that I hurt myself because I wanted to go into police protection. And instead they took me to the hospital, where I feel like they tried to finish the job. They didn't give me anything upon entry. Well, what they did give me was a Tdap shot immediately, because I was in the entryway to the rest of the hospital. They had to give me something. They gave me a Tdap shot and basically held me in like these rooms in the back where I felt like we couldn't do anything. They locked us in from the outside, so there was nowhere to go. And like I said, the guy who was there before me, who was screaming about how it wasn't a real hospital, how he was only getting worse, not better. And I realized like I had to get out of there, that it was a trap set up for me, and I wasn't supposed to get out. But that guy was then, he was pronounced dead. Christy Habernacki was entered into the room, and she was, you know how they do that? They have someone come in who's either family or a loved one, and they ID the body. They did that whole thing. She went up to the desk, signed some paperwork, and left. She was walked in with Amy Hammer, Amyhammer. So that was the admission date. Sorry, I got off track there for a little bit, but that was either what they're saying here is this was the admission date when they first started to administer medications to me, January 19th, which is 3 days before I was, or 3 days after I got sent into the hospital. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, no, 4 days. I was in the ER for 4 days, and they didn't give me any medications. Nothing. Not even topical ointment for my arm. I had to get it when I went upstairs to Pond House 4. I had to ask for it, actually. I specifically had to request topical ointment for the gashes on my arm. They're clear as day to me, but they don't show up on camera. It's too exposed, I guess. I don't know. But I had to specifically request it. And then they gave me a whole slew, all of these medications that I went over every single day until I was discharged on the 24th, which is what is in my chart. So I believe that they had tried to medically kill me through medications and through lack thereof before I got to Pond House 4 and was officially entered into the record of the hospital. I believe that there were accesses to my chart in order to push back when they said that I was actually entered into the registry of the hospital ward, because I was held and I wasn't even in the ER. I was held in like psychiatric hold or something, because there were like room after room after room after room with locks on the outside, a large bathroom to the side, and then another entryway out that way with another room to the side over there, and then a staircase that led up. I don't know. They didn't have me in a normal hospital room. I was locked in at night, and I was given a pill that nearly killed me. I think it was a cocaine bomb with heroin inside of it. What ended up happening was, while I was down there in the ER, and they gave me this pill because I hadn't slept that for like 3 days prior to that, because of everyone basically stomping up and down the stairs at the apartment complex. and like hanging outside of our bedroom window, threatening me basically like through the window. And I tried to tell my boyfriend this was going on, and he just said, okay, there's no one out there. What do you want me to do about it? And I was just like, I don't know, maybe go to the police with me. Like, he wouldn't even do that. He wouldn't help me with the police report. He wouldn't help me ease my mind at the very least and like say, hey, like, I'll protect you. He basically told me, like, because I thought it was Sophia, my ex-roommate. I thought it was literally just her. And I said, like, well, what if she jumps me with her friends or something? Um, and he basically just said, well, maybe that would be good. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he basically made it sound like it would be right if she did beat me up. And I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck did I do? Like, who the fuck are you to say, like, it's okay for someone to beat me up when I haven't done anything but try to be their fucking friend? Sorry, excuse the language. Um, it was my impression that one of my old therapists from IOP, after I had left the program, it had come to my attention that I think they were let go from the hospital due to transphobia and not being the first mark on their record at the hospital for being a very fair doctor or fair therapist. Um, I think they were making inappropriate remarks, and their name is, their last name is Zenas, Dzienis, from Lawrence Memorial Hospital in New London, Connecticut. And their first name, I can picture their face, but I can't remember their first name. Um, I can't remember their first name. It's in my phone. Hang on. Sorry, I sound like a bitch. I'm so over not being listened to. This is my life on the line. You know what? That name probably doesn't even matter as much as the rest of them. But I did see her twice, strangely out and about where I was. And I wasn't sure if she was stalking me as well. So I just wanted to put that out there. There's also Marianne Beth, Marriannebeth. All right. I'll be right back. So this is basically the entire line of events that I had experienced at Nutmeg Woods. Let me make sure that everything is succinct if I have to go back and talk about any of this stuff later. Upon recollection and rumination of thoughts and events, I believe the Barclay family took out a hit on my life, namely Kathy Barclay, or Dan Ramos, and Zachary Damien / Barclay. All of this cannot be exactly confirmed, but these are my collection of thoughts, as I said, and my own investigations. John has an influx of money that may or may not match up to tax record, and I suspect sex trafficking with William's exes, my ex-boyfriend. I'm not entirely sure if Will's exes are all still alive, or where they are, or what happened to them. Zachary McGree Barclay had gone missing shortly after I had met him. William's exes all have gone missing as far as I'm aware. One I had met that left shortly after I arrived, named Mabel, or Sylvie Ann / Little Lammy on Facebook, who was included in the lease previously with Sophia Palmerone, where a fire broke out and at their apartment just before I came a year or two previously. All of them came to John's house. All of Will's exes. They all came to live with Will and John. And Sophia, I'm assuming. I believe Sophia and Tommy Bueno have planned my death, and Sylvie Ann's. Will was a part of the plot and possibly hired them, as well as Sarah Vitello. There ensued the hospital cover-up of another man being killed the night I was brought in by ambulance, who kept screaming about it being a fake hospital. Zachary Damien had stolen my ID in Connecticut while out getting drinks in the town with the museum and cannonball display near the beach. Kathy placed it back after breaking in with Zach's lock-picking kit. He's a gravedigger, so they basically have to work with caskets and stuff, locks and all that type of deal, I think. So I'm not sure if it's part of the job, but I think it's pretty illegal. I think he has a record of breaking and entering. But if someone could do some investigating, 'cause I can't. I don't have the money for it. I don't know what to do. But Kathy placed it back after breaking in with Zach's lockpicking kit, or maybe she had a key made. I don't know. But she never told me, and I don't think Will knew, but I have pictures of her in our bedroom on our security camera, like looking around like, is that camera looking at me? Like, what do I do about that? And she's just like looking around at it. Sophia and Tommy had taken my luggage bag with my birth certificate and GED, which were returned ruined and slimy, coated in what Sophia called makeup remover, but she didn't return it immediately. I had to ask her like for a couple of months for her to return my bag, and she said she was getting it steam cleaned. Why did it take all of that time for you to bring me back my bag, have it steam cleaned, and for my stuff to still be all slimy and disgusting when I had actually asked you to place them out in the sun for them to dry? They were still all nasty. I had to place them out for them to dry, and they dried in less than a day. And what Sophie called makeup remover. If it weren't my cellar water, which I knew because it was my makeup remover, and she stole that too. If it weren't my cellar water, the ink would have completely lifted. She tried to abandon it at JFK Airport. That's my assumption, because she had a JFK Airport tag and had left it inside the bag. Look at that. I'm rhyming. I'm rhyming and I'm close to death. Ooh. Sorry. Water break. So part of the police report that I wanted to get, my initial police report from Nutmeg Woods Apartments, was about people watching me on camera. So I was under the assumption the police, there were so many, there were like 6 different cops who had shown up. 2 were standing in the hallway of the entryway. 2 were heading upstairs to the top floor to where I had stated that I thought people were watching me illegally on camera. And 2 went into in our apartment. But I figured they had been caught filming me from upstairs with a camera that could see through walls or the ceiling, either infrared or sonar. I'm not entirely sure what kind of camera they were using, but they kept saying, like, we'll never get caught. They were gloating about it outside our window. They were gloating. The police report I called in was on January 15th, 2022. The police never followed up with or questioned, and I was never questioned by officers at all. They considered me to be in psychosis, ushered me to an ambulance waiting outside where Sarah was driving and Dylan Jones was sitting in the back. 2 officers went upstairs, a man and a blonde woman in a cap. 2 went into the apartment, a larger guy and I'm not sure, maybe it was just one, a larger guy. And then 2 stood in the entryway. A larger guy, red hair, and then a skinnier guy with dark hair. Heyman sent for the reports made and footage of officers' cop cam requested, which was standard issue by the time of my report. Still no response 2 months later, pending lawsuit and civilian investigation. I might end up having a lawsuit against the precinct for not sending me the full police report, the cop cam video footage of that night, so I can see who they spoke to, eyewitness testimony reports, and all of that of what happened that night, because a full squad pulled up. A full squad. They were pounding on everyone's doors in order to get into the building. And of course, I was the person who let them in. And I just had to run inside real quick to grab a sweater, I'm pretty sure. I don't really remember. I let them in. And yeah, that's all. They didn't question me about anything. Not that I can remember. And if they did, I probably would have just told them exactly what I told them over the phone, that I hurt myself. But Tommy was the one who had attacked me. And I was scared for my life at that point. I didn't know what to say or who I could trust. So I'm not entirely sure what I told officers, if anything at all. I claimed self-injury to the police after threats of being murdered if I said anything. After Tommy failed to make it look like a suicide when I had drank beer and smoked weed the night of my police call. I retained my story of self-harm to inside the hospital after being treated wrong by police and medical staff my entire time in Connecticut, and suspected a medical hit on my life. I'm going to leave this part out because this is just, I can't actually. It'll still be readable just in case it's true, but I can't exactly say for sure that this is what happened at all. So I'm just going to gloss over that. I'll still put it up on screen so you can see it. But so far, what I've already read over, I'll put up on screen now so it'll just be for investigative reasons in case this journal goes missing and other people can look back on it. In case I go missing, that is. Which I'm pretty sure I will. Oh, I just showed that. I just wanted to make sure it was fully on camera, I guess. Alright, first page. Again, sorry for the bad handwriting. That's just, I'm not entirely sure what I heard them talking about up there, but I thought I heard that going on. Anyway. I'm gonna put up on screen all of my proof, or you could just look at the rest of my YouTube videos because I've already posted all my proof, and that's everything that I have. During my time waiting for all of this to happen, police reports coming back to me, waiting for the information from the hospital so I could sue them for negligence of medical care and everything. For my lawsuit, it hasn't been happening. So I think I'm gonna have to go into the courts and file for myself because a lawyer didn't want to pick up my case. That's what it boils down to. A lawyer didn't want to do the grunt work in order to figure out all of the information that I was providing if it added up to what the hospital was providing. They didn't want, it was too much work for whatever payout they might have been able to get me. But what I'm interested in is criminal charges against these people for murder, attempted murder, cover up of a murder, and possible police corruption in Connecticut, like just in general. So if you're interested, there is so much more on my YouTube channel. If you look at the thumbnails, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to make it out, but I'm going to go over my own YouTube channel and see how coherent it all is. And if it's not as coherent as I think it should be, then I'm just going to post it all again. All of my medical proof and findings, all of my proof and findings over what I've been talking about with Sophia and Tommy and my ex-boyfriend and John, all of that stuff. Zach too. That's really all I have for this. So I'm going to post this up on YouTube and I'm going to start the next stream. And I'm probably just going to go to bed.